What's going on, Tiger fans, man? Welcome back to another episode of LSU Recruiting HQ. Glad to have you guys with us today. We, of course, got a lot to talk about, man. We had some big signees this week. Brian Thomas Jr., Mike Jones Jr. Oh, man, Tigers are killing it in recruiting right now. Finishing out that 2021 class on top. Moving up to the number 3 ranking. We also going to be talking about some LSU Hoops, man. Finally breaking the streak, man. They was looking rough for a week or two there. Finally got back on track this week with Mississippi State and got another huge game this Saturday against Tennessee. We're also going to be mentioning a lot about the 2022 class coming up, man. That class is looking loaded already. LSU dishing out offers left and right to all the in-state kids. I think this class is going to be a huge in-state talent-filled class, so look out for that. We're going to be talking about who I personally think is going to be committing next and what the Tigers' plans are as far as other recruits outside of the state of Louisiana. So we'll get to all of that. Thank you guys for watching today's episode. Go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, and if you're not already, follow on Twitter. Man, I know you guys want to jump right in talking about the Brian Thomas news, talking about Mike Jones Jr., but I want to start with the basketball team. Oh, man, coming off of 2 really tough losses. Finally got back on track last night against Mississippi State, and I'd say it's probably the best performance I've seen out of the Tigers all season. 94 points against one of the better defensive teams in the league. Cam Thomas, 25 points, shot 56%. I mean, if we can get him to do that, 4 assists as well, we can get that to become a trend. Who knows how far this LSU basketball team can go. Javonte Smart also 22 points, 11 assists. This Tigers team shared the ball all night, shot 62%, which I believe I heard on the broadcast was either the highest or second highest field goal percentage ever in LSU history. So, I mean, you can't obviously expect follow-up performances like that, but the motion of the offense and how they were moving the ball, 22 assists on the night, that's the kind of stuff we want to see. We don't want to, we're getting into that ISO ball and it's my turn shot, and it gets very predictable when you face really good defensive teams. Also not having Darius Days the last couple games has taken his toll. He was back and he balled out in the first couple minutes of the game, knocking down 2 huge threes. And like everybody, you see the stats. I mean, when Darius Days scores 10 or more points, LSU wins. When he doesn't, they lose. So having him on the floor is a big deal. Like, people make it seem like, hey, this guy's, he's the fourth fiddle, and he's the least from it, man. He brings energy to the court. I'm not sure what's going on with these silly technical fouls, man. Personally, I don't like them. They're kind of ticky-tack. There was a couple of them, Watford dropping the ball on the guy. That okay, yeah, you can give him a tech for that, but all the other stuff, man, it's just stuff personally I think part of the game. So I mean, this LSU basketball team, man, really gave us all some hope this week, and hopefully they can carry that momentum into Saturday, because they really need a big time win on their schedule. Right now their best win is Arkansas, and Lenardi has them on that bubble, that last 4-in type projection. So they got to avoid the bad loss, and they got to get a good win. And Tennessee's a great chance at your place, and you're playing great basketball. They're not playing great basketball right now. They're obviously good, but they've been struggling as of late scoring the basketball as well. So you gotta bear down, and you gotta find a way to win one of these big games. And until you do that, nobody in the bracketology is going to move you any higher than where you're at now, because they're just saying, yeah, they're good enough to make the tournament, but are they good enough to beat a quality team? And right now, personally, I don't think LSU is playing at a level where they can compete with quality teams night in and night out. So it'd be nice to see them put up back-to-back performances, and take this momentum and carry it into the end of the season. Will Wade's mentioned several times that they want to add games to the schedule just in case. With the Missouri game, that Missouri game's looking like it's gonna really hurt LSU. If LSU could have snuck in there and won early in the season, that Missouri wouldn't be looking really good right now, and it wouldn't go down as a bad loss for sure. But like I said, this conference right now is wide open for. You have Alabama at the top with their one loss, but I think right now there's 4 teams tied for second, and that really is going to go determine who gets the double buys and stuff in that tournament, which is a big deal because nobody on the bracketology wants to see that you were one and done in the SEC tournament. The easier you can make that on yourself is the further you can climb up those rankings and eventually maybe move up to a higher seed, which will benefit you obviously in the tournament style. You definitely don't want to end up playing in the last 4 end games because man, those games are a heck of competition, and all those teams are been fighting, scrapping all year, and those types of teams are not ones like LSU. So LSU plays off of their star power. All them other teams, man, they play that small ball. And they can hurt you, especially when they're motivated playing the basketball they are now. But like I said, y'all remember Saturday afternoon, 1:00 PMAC, LSU versus Tennessee, being another chance for a quad 1 win for LSU, and hopefully Will Wade can get his guys and take care of business on Saturday. Alright guys, we're going to jump right into talking about Mike Jones Jr. coming from Clemson. As a sophomore last year, played in 9 games, had 2 interceptions, a big one in the first playoff game against Ohio State. But what does all this mean for LSU? What kind of player are they getting? Mike Jones Jr. was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, very highly touted linebacker. And obviously, if you go play for a program like Clemson, you're obviously doing something right as far as your high school film, and they obviously saw something in him to where they could put him on that roster and offer him a scholarship. But like everybody has been asking, saying, hey, why is he transferring? That's the first question. You don't when you see a kid go from, like, for example, Harvard to LSU, that kind of makes sense. You can understand that they're trying to further their career at another level and prove that they can play at a higher level. When you have Power 5 to Power 5 transfers, unless it's a big time name, you're really looking at that saying, all right, what's going on here? Why would he transfer? Why couldn't he get on the field at Clemson? And so that question's been thrown out there a lot, and personally, I don't have the answers, man. You'd have to get with him to see what the fit there. I mean, I know he wasn't playing a lot. Probably thought maybe he could come in here and make an immediate impact as a starter, and hopefully he can. Going through his stats, 2019, played a lot, 18 tackles, not crazy. He was Isaiah Simmons' backup in 2019, so you're obviously not going to play a lot in that situation. But as a sophomore, Jones played in 9 games, 26 tackle, 4 for a loss, picked off 2 passes and was in on a sack. So, I mean, when he's on the field, he's making noise when he's on the field. I wish I could pull up the stats on like how many snaps he played. That would probably give us a better perspective, because I'm sure his snap count wasn't very high, but to have those kind of, to pick off 2 passes while you're on the field. So, he's right place, right time type of player. So what does this mean for LSU's depth chart? It wasn't a secret this past year. The reason Bo Pelini's gone and the reason why Bill Bush is gone is LSU's linebackers and safeties weren't playing well. When you have a historically bad LSU defense and you're looking at the back end and you see how the safeties are playing, how the linebackers are playing, it threw up red flags. And like I said, that's why these coaches aren't here anymore. Brought in new guys, brought in new players. LSU now has 8 linebackers on the depth chart, and when the season started to turn around later in the year, a guy like Micah Baskerville stepped right in and came in, and everybody's sitting here thinking like, why is this kid been not playing? Like, why is he? Damone Clark regressed from 2019 to 2020, and like I said, you can't have that in this league, and any weak point in your defense is a point of attack for other teams' offenses. So we definitely hopefully are gonna get that cleaned up. We have tons of depth. They get this strong number one linebacker in JUCO coming in. He's gonna make an immediate impact. We obviously don't know how that's gonna transfer to SEC level competition, but he's gonna come in. His body's gonna be more mature than these incoming freshmen, and he can give you valuable snaps. And I really think that's what they're looking for. They just want to find guys that they can plug in there and say, hey, go in there, make a play. You always want to have depth. And you look at LSU's defensive line, the most deep, personally, I think it's the most deep position group in on the roster. Everybody, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, those are obviously deep positions, but I mean, if you go look at the names on this defensive line, that's obviously going to be the strong point. Obviously you got Stingley, Ricks on one side. That's a strong point, but once you get past those two, I mean, you got Dwight McLaughlin and Cardell Flott back there. But you look at the defensive line and the depth with Jaquelin Roy, Ojulari, and then all the starters coming back, all the seniors coming back, Farrell, Glenn Logan, and Andre Anthony, players like that. You have all of these guys coming back next year, so that's obviously going to be the strong point of your defense. And personally, last year, I think that 3-4 to 4-3 changeover was a big factor on why LSU struggled a lot at the beginning of the year, because these guys were told all offseason, hey, we're going to rush the passer, And when they did a great job of that, and it showed that what Coach O wanted to do is what they did, but the fact is they didn't fill run gaps, and they were really bad at filling the right holes on defense. So when other teams were running the ball, so that was the downside of that. But I think you have a whole offseason, you have new coaches, a new language on defense, younger guys getting in there with these kids and relating, say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We have young, I think they're hardworking, aspiring coaches now. And I believe that's going to be the X factor for LSU. And that defensive line is going to be, personally, I think the best in the SEC, hands down. It's not even close right now, just looking on paper. But like I said, this Mike Jones Jr. coming in, hopefully can help with these linebackers and play that hybrid position, almost like Jacoby Stevens is kind of the player he reminds me of a lot. And I think he can jump right in and play Jacoby's role, because he can cover guys. He's fast enough where he can cover guys, and he's got SEC speed as a linebacker to hit holes. I mean, everybody just got done watching the Super Bowl with Devin White absolutely ruining the Chiefs' game plan, personally, because between him and Debo in the NFL, those two are probably the fastest linebackers I've seen as far as moving sideline to sideline, and these are the kind of players you need to compete in this league, because the athletes on offense are so great that if they hit the edge, they're just gone if you don't set the edge. So like I said, the back end hopefully is going to be better with the safeties. You're adding all these incoming freshmen. I think LSU signed 5 safeties, and all I'm hearing out of the talks coming out of spring ball right now is the kid from Pennsylvania is absolutely showing out, and he's looking like heck. He might be able to jump right in the rotation first year, and then you add guys like Sage Ryan in there too. Athletes that can play almost anywhere on the field, like a Honey Badger type hybrid player. You add guys like that, we're talking big time stuff on this defense this year, and I'm looking forward to watching it. Hopefully this year we get to watch a spring game, to see how everything's running and if it's going smoothly, and hopefully we get to see these guys progress like Damone Clark, Micah Baskerville, and and we see them take that next step in their careers and hopefully end up, you know, being almost a strong point of our defense. You would love to see that turnaround. I think Blake Baker is going to do a tremendous job. There was rumors this week that he was going to take the Tennessee defensive coordinator job. I can't imagine how true that is. Why a guy would turn down a promotion and a raise. I'm just in the SEC be a defensive coordinator. I'm not sure how true that was, but rumors were circulating that was going on. But he's going to stay at LSU, and I think we're going to like the product that this defense is going to put on the field this coming year. Last thing we're going to get into, and then we're going to talk about the 2022 class and what it's looking like now, what it's going to look like in the future. We're talking 9 commits right now, led by Walker Howard, Will Campbell from the state of Louisiana. LaTerrence Welch just joined in a couple days or weeks ago, and it's looking good. I'm liking what I'm seeing. LSU has dished out 19 offers to in-state kids. So if that doesn't tell you right there what their game plan is as far as approaching this recruiting cycle to keep these guys in Louisiana. We've had the problems with transfers, kids leaving after their first, second year, and a lot of that has to, who knows? We all hope this pandemic obviously ends soon, but how much easier is it on a kid instead of having his family in, Maryland or California or Ohio, Florida, having those, not having people around you to keep you supported. You can't go out, hang out with your friends. You can't go to parties on campus. Stuff like that's not going on anymore. So how do you keep a level head on your shoulders as a true freshman walking into a big time pressure situation, where you're playing on Division I football for one of the powerhouses in the SEC? It's got to be tough mentally and physically on these kids. So hopefully this cycle they can grab all these kids from Louisiana that they want, and they can get them on this roster and keep them on this roster, because depth. How many years in a row now? Besides, you talk about the 2019 team, that rotation was unbelievable. You talk about 2018, and then you skip 2019 to 2020. What are we talking about as far as LSU football? We're talking about depth. 2018 offensive line didn't play very well. Wasn't a lot of depth. Wasn't a lot of depth at the receiver position. You had Justin Jefferson. That's about it. And then the defense was obviously outstanding that 2018 season. Then you flip to 2020, and then it flips to the defensive side of the ball. Where are you lacking depth? You're lacking depth at corner. You're lacking depth at linebacker. And as far as everybody transferring at the beginning of the season or opting out at some point, you had defensive line questions. So that every level of your defense, and Kerry Vincent, playing that safety hybrid nickel position also. So you're missing out on those positions. And Coach O has really made it a point where he said, this can't keep happening. Having depth in this league is key, man. You got to have backups that can jump right in and play and give you quality time on the field. When you stick a guy that's been in your program for 2 years, and then they go out there and they look like they don't know what they're doing, that reflects coaching. Because you can't have that at this level, and that's what cost LSU a lot at the beginning of the year. You look at the Missouri game, you look at the Mississippi State game. These young guys jumped in there, or guys that have been in the program, and they just look like they just didn't know what to do. So he's focusing on depth, keeping these guys in this program, keeping these guys in state, and you can tell by the guys that he's hired. Like, hey man, we're getting younger, we're getting more diverse. We want you to feel as comfortable as you can at LSU. That was the message I got this all season, was we want you to feel comfortable being here and being able to play for LSU for 3 to 4 years. and I think he's done a great job of it. And we'll see. Hopefully, you're obviously, you want to see it this year, but these benefits are gonna be shown, in years to come. Hopefully in the next couple years we'll be able to find out, like, hey, did this work out? Hey, maybe we should go after national guys again, or vice versa. I believe it was the 2018 class where they only had like 16 of the 25 guys that they signed on the roster still, and from last year. So that kind of stuff, that absolutely kills you, man. And you're only allowed to sign 25 guys, no more. Unless you're Alabama, you're not allowed to sign more than 25 guys. And somehow Alabama finds the loophole every year with getting guys to, 5 stars to take gray shirts and not even get a scholarship. It's unreal. But that's a story for another time. We're gonna talk about LSU on this podcast. But so, like I said, they're building up and building up this 2022 class. The next guy I have to keep an eye on is definitely going to be Emory Jones of Catholic, offensive lineman. When Will Campbell committed a couple weeks ago, they tweeted out that picture of all the offensive linemen, being together, and Walker Howard being on this poster. And I got a feeling that that's going to be the next domino to fall. It's going to be Emory Jones from Catholic. So definitely keep your eyes out for that one. Definitely not out of it with either one of those two guys. So I'm sure LSU will keep pushing for those guys. And it's going to be a great class no matter how it stacks up. 2022 is loaded in the state. So we'll see how Coach O finishes up. And throughout, it'll all depend. Kids are looking at, hey, can LSU bounce back? Is going to be the question these kids are going to. So you're going to see a lot of kids wait until. Not a lot of kids over the summer are going to be committing, especially with, I'm hearing now that the NCAA is extending the dead period again, which is absolutely ridiculous. So people can go to basketball games, softball, baseball, all these events. You can have 10,000, 15,000 people in these arenas, but yet a recruit can't come with his mom and dad to visit on a recruiting trip. Like that just blows my mind how the NCAA works. But like I said, that's a story for another time. But we're gonna wrap things up, and definitely make sure, if you guys aren't already, please go on Facebook, Twitter, go like the recruiting page that we came up with on Twitter. Go like the recruiting page we came up with on Facebook. Man, you'll be up to date, notified whenever anything LSU happens. Basketball, baseball, softball. I'm trying to keep a diverse sports going, and making sure y'all know everything and anything that's going on at LSU at the time. And if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe and comment. Let me know what you guys think personally. Always trying to get better doing this. And I'm glad to have you guys with us today. Appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks.